Last week, I made a video describing what we knew about the Absolute Universe then. And now that San Diego Comic-Con has ended, we have a ton of new information. And here's all the new information announced about this universe. But first, a quick reminder of what the Absolute Universe is. It's DC's Ultimate Universe. While the main universe is built on Superman energy, this is built on Darkseid energy, meaning that every hero is more of an underdog. Batman isn't rich, Superman doesn't have the Fortress of Solitude, and Wonder Woman doesn't have the Mascara. When someone goes in to pitch a book for this universe, they are told, do something awesome. And based on the info we just learned, they seem to have listened. It's basically New 52, Take 2, except this time they're not restricted by having to obey past rules, past canon, and so they have a clean slate to do what they really want to do. Scott Snyder, the leader for the Absolute Universe, hasn't been writing superheroes for 3 to 4 years now, but the talk of superhero fatigue and other related topics drove him to come back, to prove to the world that there's still worth in these characters and their stories. But first, let's recap some of the news about the Trinity before diving into the new book. Absolute Batman. You know how huge this guy is? Out of the suit, he is 6'6" and weighs 250 pounds. And inside the suit, he is 7 feet tall. He needs to stop thinking about his parents getting shot and start thinking about getting some shots up on the court, man. This is all your Alan Ritchson as Batman fan cast come true. This is the Batman who lifts. His occupation has been revealed to be that of a city engineer.
I'm an engineer. That means I solve problems.
While he doesn't have a lot of money, maybe he can still design a pretty cool Batcave. This could also provide a background for his ability to traverse Gotham so well, since he probably would have been involved in the building for a lot of it. He is also soulless because he's a ginger, which may mean the character is doomed already. But I'm curious if he might be mixed as well, or if that's just your Goddess art style, because he does look a little Chinese. He's also got a dog with big bat-like ears, which is cool. And this guy is confirmed to be Alfred, so I was correct on this one. Snyder really loves his badass Alfreds. He looks a lot like Deathstroke's assistant Winter Green. I mean, they're basically the same old British spy guys who assist a big-time character. It is now confirmed he has an MI6 background, as well as being a spy who goes by the name Penny. It also says he's an old guard of the Empire, but I don't know what that means. It could be referring to the British Empire, or it could also be referring to potentially a new villain group or something. Snyder said he's someone Batman will encounter early on. Not his butler, but someone who's in Gotham for a hit, but runs into Batman. And he thinks Batman is crazy and naive to the world, that he is too much of an idealist and will never succeed in his mission. But given that this is Alfred, I wonder what ends up happening that will make him believe that Batman can succeed. Could it be taking down his first supervillain? And the first villain Absolute Batman will face is thankfully not the Joker. But it is Black Mask, who I also don't love. Most of the time he's a pretty generic crime boss, and besides the design, doesn't have a cool gimmick or hook that makes me want to see him pop up often. And this Black Mask looks like he has a balloon on his head. Like, where's the mask? This has to be the first Black Mask with no drip. It's an unfortunate look for him. Snyder said he didn't want to do Batman again, and I didn't want him to do that either. But then he was convinced by his protege, James Tynion IV, and he's won a few Eisners, so he probably knows more. But now we know so much more about Absolute Batman, and this looks like it'll be a fun one. Absolute Superman? To be honest, there weren't that many updates for this book. They were the most vague on this one. What we did get to see is that his second issue, he will be going up against a large amount of peacemakers while he stands over his scientist as Lazarus. So it does look like we're heading to a more standard modern take on young Superman that pits him against the government. And boy do I mean this is a pretty traditional modern take, as a big idea writer Jason Aaron pushed was that this was a Superman for the modern world and how he would live in it and be raised in it. That's about as vague as it gets. Also, the only thing he would confirm that is the same from the main universe is that Krypton will explode. So there's that, I guess. Jason Aaron did say that he's the first writer from Kansas to write Superman, who is of course from Smallville, so that's kind of neat. And so the book will feature a few moments of Superman standing alone in wheat fields. But yeah, this one not too sure about. The James Gunn influence really is crazy with all those peacemakers though. Absolute Wonder Woman? Okay, so she's not an archaeologist. That part turned out to be false, but she may be something greater. This Wonder Woman is being described as being lava under rocks. She is pure fire. She is the last Amazon in the world and was literally raised in hell. She is also going to be the first superhero known to the world. And yeah, this is the book I am most looking forward to. Besides the Buster Sword, she has a sick mask and warrior design, making her just look awesome. That Pegasus she's riding, yeah, that's not a normal Pegasus. It's also from hell, and it's a skeletal beast made out of a black metal. So the first superhero in this new world is going to be perhaps the most terrifying to its in-universe population. While this Batman is scary and Superman is probably powerful, this Wonder Woman can be both. And did I mention she was a witch raised in hell? I mean, she's got a giant sword, a scary mount, a dominant mask and armor. There's no way anyone on the planet will want to mess with her. Well, I suppose her villains would. And speaking of her villains, unfortunately, unlike the rest of the books, we still have no idea what her villains will look like. Could it be something that followed her out of hell? Or something related to her being a witch? Or how did the last Amazon end up in hell in the first place? Presumably it must have been since she was a baby since she was raised there, so I would assume that the Amazons were defeated by something. And then baby Diana was spared or maybe saved? Also, someone said this is similar to Hades 2, but I haven't played that, so someone in the comments tell me if that's accurate. This book is going to be so cool though and is at the top of my most anticipated. At least it was until they announced the 4th book coming to the Absolute Universe. Just kidding, it's still Wonder Woman, this is for the transition. Absolute Flash. So this just ended up being a new design for Wally West on Earth Prime. But Absolute Flash is going to release next year and we have our first look. Jeff Lemire has written a ton of award-winning indie comics like Black Hammer, Gideon Falls. What he may be most known for is Sweet Tooth, which has become a Netflix show. He also has written very good runs on Green Arrow and Animal Man and the New 52, and wrote one of the best Moon Knight books ever, trapping him in an asylum and reaching in deep to Moon Knight's psyche, seeking to unravel whether he is crazy, whether he is right in his mission. Flash is a very good fit for him. He has an extensive background writing science fiction, superheroes, comedy, and some horror, all of which could very well play into this take on Flash. Nick Robles is the artist and is primarily known for doing some gorgeous cover art. As far as actual interiors, there's only really been some books in the Sandman universe, but boy does his art still look great. So let's look at this Flash. We only have one picture, but this is Wally West. How do I know? Because he has red hair and Jeff Lemire said so on Instagram. Lemire also says he's a teenager, which also makes sense given the art. But a teenager being one of the main heroes in this universe should be a fun dynamic, especially once they all eventually meet up. Flash could potentially be like Spider-Man in terms of the relationship he has to the rest of the universe. But him being a teenager makes me very curious about the tone of the book, because the overarching universe is built on dark-side energy, right? Which would naturally lend itself to being darker. But Flash is typically a more comedic character, especially Wally West. Now he's a teen, that's perfect for being a quippy superhero. But if we look closely at the Speed Force stuff, we can see multiple entities trying to escape, trying to move around. So maybe in this world the Speed Force is a curse or some form of possession. It could be like the Lantern of Earth 3's crime syndicate, who instead of being fueled by willpower is controlled by fear, with the ring, or in this case the Speed Force, influencing his every action. This looks like it's gonna be a chaotic Flash. My big question is, will Barry Allen show up at all? Or is this gonna be a Wally completely disconnected for Barry? Because in the main universe, Wally of course got his powers by going through the same accident Barry did when he went to visit. So if there is now this new origin without Barry, could this potentially also be a path for the new DCU Flash? After so many Barrys, they could want to go a different direction, and now Lemire could hand him a new origin on a silver platter. Absolute Green Lantern. Al Ewing wrote Immortal Hulk, a run that may have changed the character forever, humanizing the character to a degree never seen before. It's heralded as nothing short of a masterpiece, with its body horror and introspective look at the relationship between Bruce Banner and the Hulk. He's also done Guardians of the Galaxy and is currently writing Immortal Thor. I do not like his Guardians, which is probably the best comparison for this book since it's both kind of like space cop stuff. But I mean, Immortal Hulk's first half is legitimately jaw-dropping. This will also be Ewing's first major work at DC. The only thing we've been told is that it's as good as Immortal Hulk, which is a pretty high bar. And the main Green Lantern in the story will be the newest, Joe Mullane. But Hal Jordan and John Stewart are both set to appear as well. They also said it's like a first contact story, so, first contact of alien type of stuff. A Green Lantern book that focuses more on the psyche of what it means to have a weapon powered by willpower sounds like a good fit for Ewing. Because being a Lantern is all about who someone is internally. It doesn't matter if someone is the strongest in the universe. If they are ruled by fear, then they could do nothing with the ring. Joe, of course, is from Far Sector, A book that really took the comics world by storm, providing a different take and almost like a fresh breath of air to a sector of DC that really needed it. I kind of expect Hal to end up as Parallax, because that just seems like a likely move for an alt universe. Because Evil Hal is a lot of fun, and well, this is the absolute universe. A lot of these heroes are lacking the people or things that mold them into the heroes they are. So Joe losing the core to an Evil Hal would fit that. But I'm really just spitballing here. But overall for this book, I'm kind of interested, but I just need to see more. There are still a couple of other writers and artists who have been rumored for this universe and still have nothing announced. So those announcements will probably happen at New York Comic Con in October. So stay tuned for that. Anyways, now that we have all these updates on the books and now know Absolute Flash and Absolute Green Lantern are happening, tell me in the comments below what you think.